Bryant Wells. I'm the retired Assistant Chief of the Texas Rangers. I'm here to conduct this interview with Lieutenant Wakeman. Wendy, tell us your name and what you do for a living.
My name is Wende Wakeman. I'm a lieutenant with the Texas Rangers. I'm currently stationed in the Huntsville office. So I'm from Sulphur Springs, Texas, born and raised. My grandfather and uncle had a dairy farm, so I was raised on a farm out in the country. When I was in high school, I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do after I got out of high school. And so I started obviously looking towards college, and I remember pouring through the course magazine that used to be a magazine, pouring through the course magazine, trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as a major. And criminal justice was really the only thing that interested me. I have no family in criminal justice, no police officers in my family or anything. And I have really no idea why it interested me so much, but that's where I kind of set my goals early on to be a police officer. And so while I was in college, I had a friend there that his dad was the highway patrol sergeant in Sulphur Springs. So we went out and spent one Sunday afternoon at his parents' place, and his dad found out I wanted to be a police officer. And he asked me, where do you want to go to work? Do you want to go, work for the police department or the sheriff's office, or, what are your plans? And I was like, well, I really don't have any plans. I just want to be a police officer. And honestly, I didn't even really know the difference. So he started talking to me about DPS. He goes, you've got to come work for the greatest law enforcement agency in the state of Texas. And at one point he said, you could be a Texas Ranger one day. And when he said that, I was like, sign me up. I'm there. And that was kind of the thing that that made me really commit and I guess find my focus.
Tell me about the Ranger promotional process. What was that like?
Well, it's different today than it was when I went through. You had to take a written test, and back then I think they'd do one every year, something like that, where everyone in the state would test for vacancies, or however many vacancies may be open. And then they would have a set number of written scores. The top written scores would go to an oral board, and you would do an oral interview board process, and then the combination of the two scores would determine where you came out on the list as far as like how you ranked. Whenever you interviewed, when you came out on that list, if there were 5 vacancies and there were 10 people on the list, the first 5 people would go wherever those vacancies were, and you didn't know where they were until you made it. A lot of people will put in for one vacancy, and so they may only take the top 10 written scores to the board. So if 50 people have put in, only the top 10 written scores are going to go. So it's still very, very competitive for those positions. Now there's a tad of an advantage, I think, because you actually know what you're putting in for and where you're going to go. So the trooper is obviously a uniformed position, as is the ranger position. As a trooper, you spend probably 95% of your time dealing with the public. Just traffic stops, just interaction with people, places. When you're in a uniform, a lot of people come up and talk to you, and you learn how to communicate with people and talk with people of all different walks of life from all over the place. In narcotics, I was more covert. I was plain clothes. I didn't deal with the public as much. I focused more on investigations. I wrote a lot of search warrants when I was in narcotics. Lots of simple drug seizures turned into really long-term cases where we're trying to dismantle drug trafficking organizations and things of that sort. So there's a lot of investigative work involved. The Ranger is kind of a combination of the two. You're in uniform again, and you're dealing with the public a lot more again, and people know who you are, and people are coming up and talking to you, and you're out doing more complex investigations than narcotics is, but narcotics, or that criminal investigations division, which we are now, really lays a good foundation for the investigations that the Rangers do.
When you talked about the competitiveness of the Ranger promotional system, I think any particular additional challenges for a female competing in that position, for that position?
I don't think so. I feel like, number one, we don't have a lot of females put in for Ranger. I personally feel like if you have done a good job in whatever job or position you've held in this department, if you've done a good job and you're good at what you do, and you can talk to people and you can conduct thorough investigations and are successful, that you have as good of a shot as a female as anybody else coming to that board. You cannot, a female cannot put in for a Ranger position and expect to get it because they're a female. Because this job isn't given to the people, given to anyone except for those who deserve it. I think a lot of people know our history, our long, rich history that we have, which is overall good. We tend to be very well respected amongst the public and other law enforcement agencies. I think that each Ranger, there's something magical that happens when you put on this Cinco Peso badge. The weight of all of the Rangers who came before you were on your shoulders. And every single one of us has a deep calling to carry on the tradition and the tradition of excellence that this division has. And I think that no one who pins this badge on wants to be the one to let down those Rangers who have come before us. You know, everybody's so busy that you can't have somebody who's not pulling their weight and doing their job. So you've got to have guys that are just like the guys I supervise. They're taking us down the road. I'm here to get them what they need to do the job that they're doing, and to, you know, be as supportive as possible. If they need guidance or we're veering off course a little bit, then we'll correct it and get back. But, you know, that's very rare. And as far as a leadership philosophy, I guess servant leadership is probably the way I would describe it. Just being here to support them and make sure that we're all going in the same direction. Honestly, if I had it to do over, I think that I may have stayed a Ranger a little bit longer, because I really miss the investigation side of it. I really miss getting out on scenes and working crime scenes and doing interviews and things like that. But I love this job. I love the lieutenant position. I knew I was going to love it, and you were my lieutenant. You were my first lieutenant, and you know, I saw how well you did it. I saw Kevin Pullen was my lieutenant. He did it well. And Major Grover Huff, he was my lieutenant after Pullen, and you know, he did it well. And I just felt like I had a lot of really great examples to follow. Can't think of a single Ranger who does this job for any other reason than they want to help people, they want to do the right thing, they want to make the world a better place. This group of people, the Rangers, are the most dedicated group of people that I've ever been fortunate enough to be a part of in my life. And it goes beyond the Rangers, honestly. It's the DPS as a whole. They're extremely dedicated. They'll go hours and hours and hours and work nonstop with little to zero sleep. It's amazing. And now I see it more because I'm sitting here and I'm reading the weekly reports of the Rangers that come through, and I'm like, holy cow, how did they work that many hours last week? And they do it because they have a drive to do it. They want to make the world a better place. They want to do the right thing. They want to take violence off the streets. So I'd say that's probably the thing that I would want people to know the most, is the true heart of the people who do this job.